Welcome to the Getting Results Inc. podcast. My name is Gino, and alongside is Super Coach, Coach Ken. Super Coach, what's new in your world?
Well, what's new in the world is the same battle we always fight, is to keep America safe for capitalism. And today I'm
That's
in the
been under
studio
attack recently.
of the Kraken. Well, yeah, it's easy. It's easy to get under attack.
Yeah.
Because there's a hard conversation out there, people. All value is earned and nothing of value is easy. It was kind of sort of funny. I know there's a lot of market volatility out there. And one of my clients was mentioning to me in the famous words of Warren Buffett, these are the times that the people who are truly supposed to own stocks will own stocks. And those that are not supposed to own stocks will no longer own stocks. So let that be a message to the wise, to your clients out there or anybody else listening. You have to earn the right to hold your earnings, your equities. And I think these are the times where your gumption will be tested, because there's nothing like looking at your portfolio and it's saying it's down 10, 15, 20, maybe even 30%. And then we get that little voice in the back of our head that says, will it ever come back? Will it just keep going down? Will I lose everything? And then you turn on the TV and you see the talking heads yelling about drama, about tariffs, about China. If you listen for a half hour, you will hear 28 minutes of bad news. 28 minutes of bad news and one feel-good story. Makes you wonder why they set it up that way. Makes you wonder why there is so much negative news out there, no matter what. Did you ever wonder about that, Gino?
There's where the clicks come from, right? It's from the drama. People get sucked into the drama. They feed off of it. It feeds on them. But then what it does, it creates doubt.
And more drama. So the drama meter is turned way up. So just be wary out there for drama. We've probably talked about this in the past, but when people mention words are symbolic in nature. It's always interesting that the words that people choose. If we pulled out a newspaper or you looked at your news feeds and began to really analyze the headlines, you will notice most of the headlines are not written in neutral, factually centered concepts. They're amped up by the drama. Why? To catch your attention. Because as unfortunately, humans are more interested in negativity than positivity. And then if you're a fan of ours, you know what you give your attention to, you get more of. Your mind begins to find more and more reasons or more and more drama.
It's Super Coach with market volatility, and it's very easy to get your attention swiped, especially because, where many of us get in the habit of screens, whether they're TV screens, computer screens, and phones. We like to scroll and look, and in anything, again, just about every other thing you scroll through is going to be something about drama or bad news or the world's going to end, or here we go. This is the end again. It's coming again.
No, this time it's different.
This time This time it's different. Yep.
This time it's different.
Yep.
So for everyone, just be mindful. Be mindful of the drama that you're taking in, and be mindful of not getting caught up in it. And just simply ask yourself, are you dealing with reality as it is, or are you dealing with reality as you pretend it to be? So what is, everything else is a flavoring of that. It's a flair. Because if we looked at the markets today, right, that's a number, and you get to choose what that number means. Well, the market is down 20%. What are you going to make that mean, right? The fact is, market's down 20%. What does that mean? And whatever you're making that mean, does it serve you?
You could go two ways with that too. You can look at it as, you can either go down with let's panic and let's go defensive, or opportunity. This is opportunity being down 20%. Let's go. Let's go take advantage of it. And it truly is a choice, isn't it?
Truly is a choice. And the danger is you can't predict the future. So we don't know if it's going to go up or down tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, 5 years from now. That's the scary part. See, there's always an interesting thing about investing in general. So I want everybody always to remember this. You're earning money by none of your labor, right? You are earning money by none of your labor. So let's not get too attached to that, because once again, you're giving money, investing in AT&T, make believe. You are investing in AT to gain a profit off of somebody else's labor. Once again, there's nothing wrong with that. I just want you to be mindful of it.
Super Coach, I think the principle or what you had talked about with us on a coaching call recently was the whole idea of emotion, thought, and mood versus intellect. You want to talk a little bit about that? Because I think it's great. This ties into this, and I think people should hear, how we really operate in this type of environment.
That's
Or how our
a great
clients.
conversation. It's a great inquiry. First of all, for all of you, sort of take a step back, take a breath in, and breathe out. And just simply ask yourself, is there a difference between your intellect and your emotions in how you feel about something or in how you think about something, right? Because notice you can feel, fast example. I have orchids right here. I'm looking at these orchids. They make me feel nice. They feel pretty, okay. But if I'm going to begin to language them, or if I have to bring in intellect, now I have to begin to describe. Right, I begin to turn this formlessness concept of it's pretty into form. Right. Well, they have white petals. There's purple in them. They're symmetrical. There's a level of beauty there. So intellect, your frontal lobe, it moves slower than your emotions, and it's an interesting concept. So intellect moves slower than your emotions. You feel something first, and then you begin to figure out what you're feeling or what is causing that feeling. I have a theory that in our own evolution as humans, we lived in groups. We were pack animals for a long time, long before we had language. And it's our emotions were a way to communicate not only to the group, but to ourselves. And then over time, intellect became present. The ability to plan, to be able to think, to be able to reason, to apply logic. But that came later in the game. So it's always just wonderfully something for all of us to think about. When you think you're thinking, you're probably not. Because real thinking takes effort. So real thinking takes either pen in your hand or fingers on the keyboard. Now, the reason why I say that, for you to form a coherent sentence, it means your brain needs to slow down. Intellect needs to step in and make sense of the words that you're writing, because sometimes your emotions don't make any sense. Like, think about it. Like, sometimes you can wake up angry or you're just really frustrated at something, but you're not really clear why. Now, you can act from that frustration. Nothing wrong with that. It's just that you're going to cause collateral damage. Or analyze, figure it out. Okay, what is the root of my frustration? But not thinking in the head. Write it out on a piece of paper, type it out on the keyboard, because that is slowing down your mind so that you can process. So you can turn the formlessness of emotions into form. And once you have form, you can begin to file and understand.
Yep. Yeah. And as our clients, financial advisors, many times, especially during these times, our job is to help our clients come off the ledge from the emotion that they're feeling and be the intellect for them, to make sure that they understand what's really happening, to be logical about what's happening, to be centered for them so that they don't do crazy stuff based on emotion and not using their brain.
Spot on. I mean, you're acting as their guide to help them stay the course. And
You
it's not
are
easy.
the intellect for your client.
Right. And if your intellect is going sideways, or if your hair is on fire, or you're feeling doubt, disbelief, lack of encouragement, do not believe in America and capitalism, and you should get on the phone, talk to your coach, talk to your manager, talk to the biggest producer that you know, and see what they say. And if their hair is on fire too, then sell everything. Go to gold, buy Bitcoin, pork bellies,
Hunker down.
bullets, whiskey. I mean, this is
Hunker
not
down.
the end of the world, people. And even if it is, enjoy the ride.
Well, it will be one of many end of the worlds that we've had, right? 2020, 2008, and onward, right? We've had a lot of end of worlds. 2000, right? And that's, I think, the big thing there is to remember that during these times, you can't get caught up in the drama. Going back to that again, what's the saying you always say about your hooks? I always love that saying.
The old saying, it's the world is a world of rings. The hooks are all yours. Straighten your hooks and nothing can bind you. And then what would it be like to live a life unbound? And the story I usually tell about that is that, think about that, you're running down your high school hallway. All of you have a long hallway in your high school. And you're running down that hall, and out of the walls are coming a bunch of fish hooks with monofilament, otherwise known as fishing line. And they're the big hooks that you would catch saltwater fish on. And imagine you get clipped by one. It's going to hurt like hell and you're going to struggle. But the more that you struggle, the more you're going to catch other hooks. And the more that you fight against them, the more the hooks get into the skin. So now you can't move. It's painful because you're hooked. Maybe you got hooked by the drama. Maybe you got hooked because somebody cut you off on the way to work today. Maybe you got hooked because your portfolio went down 30%. Okay, whatever that hook is, it's got you. It's got you bound. And now the interesting thing about pain centers attention. Okay, so boom, all that attention is going to go to wherever the pain is. And as that attention goes to the pain, guess what you get? More of it. Continues to compound upon itself. Now, the same idea, imagine running down that high school hallway again, monofilament, large fishing lines, but the hooks are straight. There are no hooks. You don't get bound. So hence your mind and intellect stay free to focus on what matters, or to deal with reality as it is instead of the reality we pretend it to be. So, and drama can distort reality.
Yep.
So it's always that check yourself.
Well, it's check yourself, and it's also do a little inventory. What are you allowing into your attention zone? What are you allowing to take your attention? And if you are allowing the news and the headlines to draw you in, you might need to shift your attention elsewhere.
Standard rule for everyone. Everybody wants, okay, what's my hack? What's my quick tip of the day? What's a coaching tip of the day? In regards to news, in regards to any of your feeds, the Wall Street Journal, I know everyone needs to read the Wall Street Journal because you got to stay up to date, allegedly. Wherever those are, do not do them in the morning. Push it all as late into the day as you're comfortable with. Do you really need to read the Wall Street Journal at 6 or 7 in the morning? Okay, probably not. There's a strong argument, do you need to read it at all? We can argue that point. But if you really do need to read it later in the day, push it all back. Because always danger, right? Danger, Will Robinson. Anything that you read is somebody else's agenda, right? And even in the media today, even if you think it's a neutral article, there's usually an agenda behind the article. And there's nothing wrong with that once you're aware of it. But that can, once again, put the mind in a place that is not necessarily beneficial for you and or your clients. So what does this mean? Does this mean you should live a monk-like existence? Yes, you should. And focus on what matters, like what your anvil project is, like taking care of your clients. How can you be of greater service to your clients? How can you deepen those relationships?
Yeah,
a monk-like existence.
Yeah, or go to www.gettingresultsinc.com and go to our resources and read our articles or listen to our podcasts. Fill yourself with positive, helpful things that will actually add to your day versus subtract from your day in your attention.
Yes, the monk-like existence.
Like it.
Whatever your design is, continue to work it. If you don't have a design, then you're working somebody else's. And just take a moment and ask yourself, how does that make you feel?
Super coach on that. So why should someone have a design? What's that all about? Like what's that going to do for them?
Well, here's the hard truth, right? The brutal stuff. If you do not have a design, if you are not clear on where you want your day to go, your week to go, your month to go, your year to go, your life to go, if you are not clear, if you are still trying to figure that out, here's the bad news. Somebody else already knows. Somebody else is already guiding you on the path that they want you to go on, that they believe is right for you. And that more than likely it is in their best interest. Think, grasshoppers, think. So if you just show up to work today with no plan, just showing up, whose design are you following? Well, I'm just going with the flow. Just going with the flow, dude. I just go with the flow. Whose flow? Right? Oh, I'm just going with the river of what life. Well, if you've ever been out to Texas, etc., where they have these large cattle fields, they also have very large ponds, or even on hog farms, large ponds, and they overflow, and there's a flow. Like, don't go with that flow.
And also with the design, it allows you to, like you like to say, go further faster with less fuel, because when you have a design, you know what to commit to and say yes to, and you also know what not to commit to and say no to, so that you're not wasting your time. You're staying on track on your path.
On point, on path.
Right.
And more than likely, if you're listening to this podcast, you're an achiever. You're an achiever. You're wired. You're a wired person that's on a sort of a type A. You're on a particular path. You're in go mode often. And what a design helps you to do is to keep you from going crazy and hating yourself and becoming self-destructive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's what achieving people do. If they're not focused properly, they then get self-destructive. And you probably know some of your friends who took the self-destructive path instead of the productive path, which begets this fascinating question. Why would anyone ever take the path of self-destruction? Answer is usually inadvertence, boredom,
going with the flow,
because everybody else is doing it. So, we say this sort of tongue in cheek, but not really. Especially if you believe you should be a multi-million-dollar producer currently, and you are not, but you really believe you should be. That means you got the drive in you. You got the chutzpah, if you will. That energy, unless it's focused properly, can turn itself against you. And perhaps that's the very reason why you're stuck in your business, or that you've hit a plateau somewhere, and that you're not that multi-million-dollar producer. Now, if you've only been in the business a year, 2 years, 3 years, okay, got it. You're figuring it out. But if you've been in the business more than 5 years and you don't feel like you're dialed in and moving in the proper direction with the proper velocity, it's probably because you're running the wrong design. You're probably trying to bring somebody else's business into existence other than your own. Like whoever the top producer was, whoever your mentor was, they said, do this, this, and this, and you'll be as successful as I am. And you're doing this, this, and this, and you're frustrated. You're not that successful, and you can't figure the damn thing out. So you beat yourself up and you feel guilty, or you get really busy and do nothing. Or you start chasing markets and everything's going in hell in the handbasket. Or you're nuts.
We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about a new option for our clients. Yes, we have one-on-one coaching, which is super powerful, but we now have a new offering out there. If you haven't heard about it already, it's called the Slight Edge Accelerator Program that is now live. Go to our show notes. There's a link to our website, but if you go out to our website, we have a page about this program. And Supercoach, how about a quick plug on the C and the Slight Edge Accelerator? Why should someone, based on what we just talked about, why would this be attractive to someone that's listening to this podcast today?
It'll get you in the conversation, and the conversation will accelerate your existence. I mean, our stuff works. We turn all of our people into multi-million-dollar producers. Our people are ungodly successful. What the Slight Edge Accelerator is about it's opening up our work to mutants in training, capitalists in training who truly want to get to that next level. And through the Slight Edge Accelerator, it'll help you figure out your slight edges. But part of the secret sauce, if you will, is access to us, is a community that calls to you, and a structure that you can follow, as well as a little bit of a wrestling match to figure out what really is your design. What really is important to you? Because it's always one of my favorite questions to ask people. And I've done presentations all across the country. And I say, okay, who wants to be $1 million producer? Everybody's hand goes up, of course, right? Everybody's hand goes up, which is a righteous and noble goal. And then I ask a follow-up question, which is a devastating one, which everybody, most of the time, eyes go blank and they have a little bit of a twitch. I say, for what? For what? And the standard answer, or everybody, well, because that means I'm successful. or that means it's what you're supposed to do. It's the hard part about that. It's just not real. It's not actually a tangible target. Okay, oh no, it is, Ken. Look, it's a 1000, comma 000 on a piece of paper or on a screen. That's not real, people. Not real. But if you can get the for what, hitting that number is that much easier. And also, if you ever have a clear for what, another thing that often happens when you hit $1 million in production, and many people will attest to this, it's something like this. That's it. That's all that there is. There's no rainbows, no parade. Nobody really cares.
I don't
And
feel
all
any
of that
different.
effort, all of that grind. And it's game can't be won, people. It's only played. And if you're clear on why you're playing, game then makes much more sense. If you're not clear on why you're playing, the game gets sticky. So that's why many people hit $1 million in production and stay there, right? Plus or minus 100 grand a year. Once again, phenomenal numbers. But if you're the kind of person who's driven to hit $1 million in production, you know that's not enough. You know that there's more fuel in the tank, that there's more potential for you to tap. You just haven't figured it out. Now, you don't have to figure it out. You can just stay in that state of frustration, right? That stay in frustration or angst. But that's when you get self-destructive. That's when you start divorcing wives, discovering
Doing crazy
alcohol,
stuff.
gambling, dumb stuff starts happening. Dumb. Don't be dumb. You have much more to give, right? We're here to protect America, keep America safe for capitalism. If you're listening to this, you're part of that motive power. It's our mission. Our goal is to advance you for a very simple reason. It is in our best interest. Yes, we get paid for our stuff, but the bigger thing is it's about capitalism, free markets, free people. That's what this is really about. And then when you're living your design, you are then an example of what's possible to inspire other people to live a life that is worthy of their attention, that is worthy of being born.
Absolutely. Awesome. So if you haven't already, go to gettingresultsinc.com. The Slight Edge Accelerator, the next one's going to be May 27th and 28th in Kansas City, Missouri. And we would love to have you come and join us. Check out, again, our page on gettingresultsinc.com. And, message us if you're interested, you have questions. Hopefully we have all the information out there. But if you need more, let us know. We want to be of service to you and help get you where you want to get to and get that design.
A little bit more plug on the C about a part of the structure that works and why it's going to accelerate your world exponentially. It is not a 90-day one and done program. It's the opportunity for you to participate in a community every 90 days, to reset your targets, to be back with your cohorts, be back with your colleagues and your peers to advance you. It is very rare that we surround ourselves with people who are up to stuff, who have shared language, shared context, shared belief in themselves. So it truly is a tremendous opportunity to accelerate your world if you stay in the conversation, right? Because it's just a funny I think this is a funny story. So no matter what your goals are, if you stay in the conversation, you will achieve those goals. Well, why don't you achieve those goals? You usually fall out of the conversation. Because it reminds me of a conversation I had with my sensei many years ago about getting my black belt. And I had been studying now for at least 3 years, 3 years steady, like hardcore studying. One of my buddies got his black belt. I'm like, man, I didn't get my black belt. I said, Sensei, when do I get my black belt? He says, Ken, when you show up to class. And I said, well, I am showing up to class. He says, good, then you'll get your black belt. And then I said, well, when? When you come to class. Like, I am coming to class. Is it next month, next year, 5 years from now? And he's like, yes, when you come to class. As long as you come to class, Ken, your black belt is guaranteed. And then kind of smiling, he said, it's the time frame that's the variable. Now, when I first heard that, I was like, you so-and-so, what are you trying to do? You're just trying to squeeze me for tuition. But in reality, it's not true. It's not true whatsoever. Because it is truly about staying in the conversation. Because life wants to continually pull you out of the conversation. So we here at Getting Results have created a structure for you to thrive in. And you can choose to stay in it for as long as you choose. Now, if you do it for a 90-day stint, you're going to get results. right? You're just going to make an impact on your life, and we will change your world in many, if not an unbelievable amount of ways. But the amazing thing is, what if you stayed in the conversation for 2 years? I mean, you see with our one-on-one coaching clients, those that have stayed in the conversation for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, the results they have are absolutely phenomenal. So phenomenal, just like a flavor. So one of my guys started with us with $1 million in production. That's a big number. Why would somebody who does $1 million need a coach? Why would he do that? Started with us at 1, about 4 or 5 years. He's currently at 6. So 1 to 6. It's not a bad return. Stuff works. Or as I'd like to say, the shit works. So here's a wonderful opportunity to participate without the long-term commitments if you don't want to. But it's the structure. It's amazing. We've been doing this such a long time, and I think this is the magic formula. And what's really cool, another really huge, exciting thing about C, I think one of the biggest benefits is the impact it's going to have on Gino and I. Right? Because we're going to have to be setting our goals every 90 days and amplifying everything and staying in the conversation and amplifying our existence so that we can show you, ideally, what's possible. So
Absolutely.
we all operate in our own best interest.
Yep. Absolutely love it. All right, Super Coach. Well, I think today we had some good discussion here and talked about some great things. Any last words before we close out today?
Last words. The key to anything is staying in the conversation. We become the conversation that we keep. So ask yourself, what kind of conversations do you have on a daily basis? Is it just with the Wall Street Journal? Or is it with your Instagram account? Or is it with ChatGPT that you're going to go all with artificial intelligence? Interesting. Or is it around other people who are actually up to stuff and plugging into a community that's actively accelerating and that there's a structure for it and a time frame to do it? And it's a relatively low cost investment to get access to our stuff. I believe obviously it'd be a no-brainer for you to participate. So reach out to us, look us up on LinkedIn, the website. We're there. So one small step for man, one giant step for mankind, keeping America safe for capitalism. Join us at the C.
Awesome. Thank you, Super Coach. To our listeners, if you enjoyed today's podcast and got value from it, please be sure to share and follow our podcast, subscribe to it, hit the like button or give us a rating. We can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, gettingresultsinc.com under resources, YouTube. Tune in next week for our next episode. Be great.